So we are off to VGS to collect, we're not actually, because we need a car out the way, so we need the red Evoque moved.
The winner is car right.
Where?
VGS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
By Fiat.
That's good. Where's Fiat?
You know,
Left here?
Yeah, left.
Yeah. We're doing some fuel as well.
Fiat Mazda.
Yeah, we go Lovett, and you go opposite the Mini, and you go opposite that roundabout.
Do you know where Wilkes Academy is?
Yeah, and yes. Why is that?
Nah, love it.
Where?
It's go past Wilkes Academy.
Oh, I
straight
know.
on.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine. Well, you join us actually on a bit of a road trip today. We're off to VGS because we are off to collect a customer's car. Now, I want to do a bit of a segment on this because this has probably been, and as a business, we never really dive into this too much, but stuff goes wrong with cars. That's something that just happens naturally. We sell a lot of cars a month, so you roll the dice every time you sell a car. We're very busy. We deal 50, 60, 70 plus cars a month. So, you know, by the laws of averages, something's going to go wrong at some point. We are a good garage, a good dealership. You know, most of you guys know that anyway. So we'll endeavour to put anything right where possible, or we'll be as fair as we can with any practice. But we've had possibly one of the worst customers that we've ever had the misfortune of dealing with. Now, it actually gets worse than that because it's not the customer themselves. So that doesn't really make any sense to anyone. So the problem is the customer is lovely. It's the customer's dad that is the problem. So we're on the way to VGS. Let's jump around the car. Let's talk to VGS about what's gone wrong with the car. And we'll tell you a little bit about the story about why the customer's dad has caused us a real headache and also caused his son a proper problem as well. So the dad's had a negative influence on everyone within the deal. So let's talk about it. Well, it's all snowy in VGS. So short of a person not being able to drive, we made it here pretty safely. We'll jump inside, have a chat with Devon if he fancies a bit of a chin wag. I know he's not short of a few words, so I'm sure he'd be happy to jump on camera. But yeah, it was a mechatronics unit that we needed to replace. That was the part that failed. So we'll talk a little bit about the warranty claim process and where we are to why the dad for the consumer threw his toys out the pram. But let's jump in to speak with Devon because they've been for a rigmarole with the customer messing them around as well with the work. So we just have VGS now with a bill. Some nice bits actually in the car park. RS5, really nice S1. We've sold one of those before, really good fun. Golf R, couple of nice bits. Big fan of the Tiguan R's actually. I think the R lines look really good. This is the Audi here. The boys were all absolutely flat out, so we couldn't get a chance to speak with any of them. So, car's all done. VGS have been brilliant actually. The customers messed them around as well as us. We made a booking with them about 3 weeks before Christmas-ish, and they'd recently just moved as well. And the customer actually booked it in under us, not as themselves, even though the customer had the car way past 6 months at this point. So the customer made the booking and then cancelled the booking or asking questions that a business wouldn't ask, a consumer would ask. The guy smelt a bit of a weird conversation and he said, well, who's it booked under? Is it booked under Carright or yourself? And he said, it's booked for Carright. And he said, but you don't work for Carright. He said, you can't just book for a business that isn't you. And then the customer actually just didn't turn up to the appointment. So they messed them around. And they did us, VGS did a massive favour, which I then spoke to the customer about. Look, we're not affiliated with VGS. They're just another third-party company that we use. We've got a good relationship with. Favours don't just fall out of the sky, right? We have to maintain a good, healthy relationship. So when something like this happens, it negatively influences our relationship with them. But they were good as gold. Alongside moving, they managed to get another booking in about 2.5 weeks for the customer, which is mega quick considering all the stuff going on. So let's jump back to base. I'm going to drive the Audi A3 back now and we'll talk a little bit about the bill, what went on with the warranty and why the customer was, I think, or let's let you decide, rightfully or unrightfully upset. Right, so you obviously joined us back in the business now. So let's dive into a little bit of the information and backstory about what's gone on with the car. So why did it go to VGS? Well, the mechatronic unit had failed within the vehicle, and there was a couple of funky lights on the dash. So we actually took the time to investigate the car here. It came on with the notion that there was a clutch position sensor fault. Now, based on how we work as a business in terms of the ability of the techs and the technology required, with something like that, it's a lot easier and better to outsource that work to a specialist such as VGS. Now, the consumer at that point agreed to the work being done at VGS with the knowledge that A, there would be an uplift in labour. So they were aware of that. They've had a verbal agreement on the work being done as well, and we've had a physical agreement when they took the warranty out that they would know that any difference in uplift in labour they'd have to pay, and also sundries and stuff aren't covered, oils and that sort of stuff aren't covered. There's no warranty that would ever cover that. So the customer actually agreed to all of that work being done at VGS. Now, as we know, the customer didn't follow through with the booking. We had to then force another booking through. Now, I just want to do a little bit of background into the consumer themselves. So the person who actually owns the car, which is the son, he's the one with the finance agreement. He's the one who signed the invoice and the invoice is against, and the V4 is registered to and he's insured to. The son's been brilliant throughout the process. He's one of the only customers that I've had that throughout the process is worth mentioning as well. As a business, we've provided a loan car. So for every period he's needed a loan car, we've had the Audi, he's had one. He's not had to worry about it at no cost. So we've incurred the risk and the cost of giving him a loan car, which is 7 months down the line, which there's no obligation to. We've done it as a goodwill gesture. He's returned that car clean and fully fueled. There's probably a handful of customers that have ever done that, and he's one of them. Just goes a bit of credit to him. So let's talk about the bill then. So what went wrong? The mechatronic gearbox, mechatronic unit failed. Now, the warranty company covered the full cost of the mechatronic unit. So they replaced a used 80,000 mile mechatronic unit with a new one at no cost. So they covered initially £3,100. That was what the warranty company, AutoGuard, covered. It's also worth mentioning on this point, what the dad said to me is something that's really important for people to remember. And it quite simply is, he said, you just don't expect it going wrong in a new car. And I said, look, I need to address that, because yes, to you, it's a new car. And I'll be honest, if I ever bought a used car, I don't say I've just bought a used car, I bought a new car. But you need to be on the understanding that it's not new, it's new to you, but the gearbox and the mechatronic unit and the car's done 80,000 miles. Stuff will go wrong. Just because we've sold a car doesn't mean we can guarantee something doesn't go wrong 7 months down the line, thousands of miles down the line. It doesn't work like that, right? So the warranty covered £3,100. The bill was just over £4,000 total. The customer knew there was going to be an uplift in labour. We actually managed to get an actual increase on the warranty claim to £3,400. So that actually left the customer to pay £500, and if I just quickly grab it for you, the customer then had to pay £500 and a bit pounds. So it's about £531.89. That was what we requested the customer to pay. At that point, the customer turned around the dad turned around and refused to pay for it. But that doesn't make any sense, because we've had a verbal agreement on the work being done. We've had a physical agreement that you understand how the warranty works. So you can't then just turn around and say, we're not paying for it. You're liable to pay for everything. Well, it doesn't quite work like that. So then we had another conversation as a business to see whether we can help somewhere as a goodwill gesture. And here's where it gets really, really frustrating, because there's a couple of things to note in relation to consumer rights. So once the car's past 6 months, it's actually on the consumer to prove the fault was present at purchase. And something like a mechatronic unit, that's not possible, because the mechatronic box is basically a switch, really. It's either on or off. It's not something that you would have waited. It would have lasted 7 months of a failed box. It would have been evident on test drive, on handover, and within enough time frame so that 7 months haven't passed before it goes wrong. And what's frustrating is we are very good as a business. So we dealt with the car coming back for a investigation. We made the booking with VGS. We processed the warranty claim. We made sure there's an uplift in the claim. We discussed everything with VGS, dealt with the warranty company. All the customers had to do is drop the car off to us and take a loan car. So we've made the process as easy as possible for the consumer. So we got to the crux, nuts and bolt, and I just cut straight to it. We said, look, Mr. Customer, you have to pay £250. Now, what's really interesting on this is part of the warranty, to uphold the warranty for the mechatronic box, is a DSG service is required. Now, based on a vehicle of 80,000 miles and based on the time frame the customers had the car, he'd most likely be very due a DSG service anyway. So we're asking him to pay £250 of a £4,000 bill, of which the £200, just £250, was just under the cost of the DSG service. The DSG service is £291. So effectively, he's getting a discount on a DSG service. And the dad refused to pay a single penny. Now, here's where it gets a little bit funny. So the dad then went on ChatGPT, as a lot of people do, and he started throwing consumer rights out and all of this, very uneducated with how it works. And he actually then went to the finance company to reject the car at that point, which is very disappointing because, you know, if he wants to be by the book, that's fine. But as a business, we don't want to play by the book, because when you play by the book, that's not the best or easiest way to resolve the issue. Because if we'd have played by the book, we'd have made the customer deal with all the warranty process himself, not had to give them a loan car, not done any of the logistics with booking the car in or dropping the car off or anything like that. And then the warranty might have paid out £3,100. They wouldn't have increased to 34 as a goodwill gesture like they did. So the customer then would have had £900 to pay if we'd have played by the book, and we had to do all the headache and logistics anyway. So it's very disappointing when a customer does that, when we've been as flexible as possible to maintain that relationship with the consumer. Now, what's quite funny is the finance company actually rejected the claim. The customer complained and went to reject the car. And the finance company said, you've got no grounds for rejection. Now, here's where it gets really disappointing, I think, for both us and the guy's son. The son, the owner of the vehicle and the finance agreement, walked into the business and was so frustrated with how it was going on, and literally said, look, I really hate the way this is going. I just want to get it resolved. I'm happy to pay the $250. So he was in it with our sales manager. They came to the agreement. They shook on $250. And then when the customer spoke to the dad about it, the dad kicked off and made the son turn around and walk out of the business, which is really frustrating, because at what point of a business do we say, look, with all due respect, it's not your finance agreement, it's not your car to make the decision. The son's old enough, the son's taken his own finance agreement out. He's in a safe state of mind. He's a working professional. Like this is a man here. This is an adult that's in control of his own life. So this was really awkward, for the son, obviously. And what was more frustrating as well, when we talk about playing by the book, if the dad wants to reject the car, has asked the son to log the rejection, which would have happened. The dad couldn't reject the car through the finance company himself. He would have had to use his son for that. You then can't get the luxury of just driving around in our loan car. So at the point of the notice of finance company contacts and saying, look, the customer's looking to reject the car and lodge the complaint, we said, look, it's not a problem. You're entitled to do that, right? You're not entitled to reject the car, but you're entitled to at least have the conversation to say, look, I want to reject the car. Whether that means you can or cannot, time will tell. But within that, you have to return the car you're using. If you have a loan car, you have to return the car. You actually, if you're rejecting a car you're driving, you have to return that car to the dealership. You can't just leave the Audi at VGS taking up space. You can't then just have the luxury of driving around in our loan car that we're insuring, that is a risk to us as a business. You have to return that. And when we sent that back to the customer, he said he was very disappointed. He felt threatened and pressured into doing so. I don't know. That's how it works. That's your consumer rights. So you can't play by the book when it suits you and then not from the other way round. And lo and behold, once the finance company rejected his claim for rejection, the son came in, paid the $250, and VGS did the work, and the car's good as gold now. Why does that what does that mean for us as a business? Now, look, we can't do anything more as a business. We've been as good as we can. We're under no obligation to do half of the stuff we do, certainly within a time frame of 7 months. We like to do it because we built the reputation, awards and reviews we built today from doing that. For us to spend a little bit, because a lot of dealers probably were watching this and saying, why are you even entertaining this? Well, if we have to spend, say we get an uplift from the finance, can we make a dealer contribution of a couple £100 towards a bill, we might keep that customer for life. But what the dad's done now is the dad's sabotaged any relationship going forward now with us and with the consumer. Look, the consumer's got a warranty. We've still got certain amount of rights that we have to adhere to. But do you think now, if something else goes wrong with the car, are we going to offer a loan car? Are we going to make a booking? Are we going to diagnose the car? Are we going to sort all of the logistics with the warranty company? With all due respect, you've made your bed, you're going to have to lie in it. So what the dad's done for the son is jeopardize a good working relationship with a good, honest dealer. And it's stuff like this that I think when dealers get a bad rap with how they deal with stuff like this goes on, and not a lot of dealers talk about it. And this just isn't an isolated, stuff like this goes on all the time. Why does it then put me or the business in a position where I'd want to do that again for another customer? Because we're a good, honest business, we want to, but there will come a point in time with some dealers and they think, we've had enough of bending over for dealers, you know. We don't have to bend over and have a blank checkbook hanging out of our arse. It doesn't work like that. We want to be as good and honest and help where possible because we've got a long-term vision with the business to help consumers. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts really. Like, could we have done anything more? Like, where do you go with it, you know? So it's a shame really because, you know, the relationship's not tied or savage with the customer, but cut ties, sorry, or you know, but it sort of has as a rule, there's not going to be an amicable response if something else goes wrong again. The conversation would be, you've got your warranty, good luck, which is not how we want to run the business. That's not how we run the business. But in an instance like this, that's how it needs to be now with this customer, because there's not a chance we're going to spend any more time or effort from the business trying to help them when they didn't want to help themselves. And not only that, they went back on their word to agree to do the work under the notion there would be money to pay, which is very disappointing from our end as a business. Yeah, let me know how you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, any thoughts or comments about us as a business or the consumer, we'd love to hear them.